Hello, you are listening to Just Films and That. This is the podcast where we celebrate films we think deserve a little bit more love. Whether they're underrated, underseen, or sometimes even both, we're going to tackle them one film at a time. I'm the host, Josh Hallam, and I'm here on my own again, tackling another one of your listeners' suggestions. Every other week, we take a film that you guys at home suggest that we take a look at, or I take a look at. I have a look at it, I review it in the same way that I do for normal episodes, the positives, the negatives. Let's have a look. Is it underrated? Is it underseen? This week, listener Ewan got in touch to suggest we took a look at Airheads from 1994. So spoiler warnings if you've not seen it. Before I head into talking about the episode, if you do get a moment and you could head on over to wherever you listen to this on, if you have the function, if you've got the time, if you could give us a little 5-star rating and review, it'd be really appreciated. It helps other people find us and spread the word, and who knows, maybe they'll suggest some films just like Ewan has done for Airheads. Anyway, on to Airheads. If you've not seen it, it's basically, it's from 1994, so spoiler warnings if I've not already said that. It's about 3 aspiring rock stars, played by Brendan Fraser, Steve Buscemi, and Adam Sandler, all still pretty famous as well, so testament to their careers. They're all desperate to make it big, and they feel that the best way to do it is to have their demo tape, kids at home, Google it, their demo played at a local radio station. They sneak into a local LA radio station where they're sort of met with resistance and hostility from the staff there, are quite snooty about them. So they resort to threatening them with like realistic looking water pistols, basically. So this then escalates out of control beyond anything they could have imagined into a hostage situation. And then the whole thing kind of plays out like an establishment versus anti-establishment comedy. I did message Ewan to see why he suggested this, because he suggested it a little while ago, but he didn't get back to me. So this happens from time to time, and when that is the case, we're just going to look at, is it underrated, is it underseen in general, or is it both? So going in then, if you haven't heard of us before, you haven't heard this before, as I say, we start with the positives, the likes, move on to the negatives, and then we circle back to that critical reception, look at the critical reception in the box office, and decide, is it underrated or is it underseen? Now, in terms of myself, I had heard of this, but I've never seen it before. It was really, really hard to find this one. I must say, considering the cast, it was really hard to find. Starting with the positives then, there was loads to like. I thought it was pretty good overall. I thought the cast's brilliant. We'll get onto the cast in a minute, but they do carry a lot of it. I mean, particularly the 3 leads, Brendan Fraser, Adam Sandler, and Steve Buscemi. If they weren't so likable, I'm not sure this would be as good as it is. I mean, Brendan Fraser does a lot of it. He leads a lot of it. I think Steve Buscemi and Adam Sandler are great. Brendan Fraser is the real emotional heart of this film. He's sort of like, if there's a lead, it's him. I mean, the man's like a blank canvas for costume. There's nothing he can't pull off. There's nothing he doesn't look good in. I mean, a few years after this, within 5 years, he's making a film where, for my money, he looks the most handsome a man has ever looked on screen, and that's The Mummy. I mean, there's a shot in that. It's like, my God, he's just... Oh, butter wouldn't melt. But anyway, the cast are really good. They carry it off really well. But as I say, their charisma and their likability really, really elevates it. And then the supporting cast in there as well. Great cast in this. You've got Michael McKean, Michael Richards, Chris Farley, Ernie Hudson, a few others in there as well that I can't think of at the top of my head. Some great cameos in there as well. So you've got there's a few rock stars in it, scattered through it. The main one that comes to mind is Lemmy from Motorhead is in it with a great little cameo. It is a comedy, so there's some good comedy in there, a few different types of comedy, with some good gags in there, just around like a rock and roll lifestyle. There's a DJ drinking a beer and Pepto-Bismol at the same time. A lot of good comedy from them being sort of completely in over their heads and a little bit, a bit thick, but really likable, and not sort of, doesn't punch down at them. It's sort of, you're along with them for the ride kind of thing as they're in over their head. You can kind of tell that it's about them being in over their head. There's no malice in it, so it's quite interesting. It's not mean-spirited in that sense. So it is pretty funny. There's some good stuff in there, like around anti-establishment. Obviously you've got Michael McKean in there, who is most famous, I think, for most people for things like Spinal Tap. So to see him in this, there's another layer of comedy there for film fans, and another one of those films where it's very of its time. And I don't mean in terms of how it's aged, in terms of it's offensive or anything like that. I just mean in terms of the way it looks, the way they dress, the way they talk. There's some great creative swearing in the dialogue. I mean, overall, it's pacey, it's light, it's entertaining. The whole thing kind of plays out like almost like a love letter to wasted hope, but all sealed in a 90s time capsule, injected with MTV-driven nostalgia and Stretch Armstrongs and Game Boys. I mean, it is so MTV, this film, to the point where, Beavis and Butthead are literally in it. They are voices on the end of a phone, and it is them. It's Mike Judge doing the voices. Moving on to the dislikes then. Look, there's not loads. It kind of is what it says in the tin. It kind of is what it is. 2 points really, and two bigger points and 2 points within the second point. First of all, the exposition. I'd liked a little bit more exposition and establishment at the start. It kind of just drops you in it. And although it's pacey and light and things like that, it's a solid hour and a half. You could definitely have had 10 more minutes in there where we get to know the characters a little bit more, take us on a little bit more of, let's see where the status quo is, where they want to get to, where they find themselves. Because it kind of feels like it starts in the middle. That leads me on to when it does start, you just get Brendan Fraser's character with your typical, he's charming, but he's a rogue, and his girlfriend leaves him because he's always trying to make it as a rock star. This film very much does have a lack of strong female characters. There's like 2 female characters in it, and they're both kind of there to do the same thing. So again, that's kind of its time, and it's in the way it's stylized. But I just thought it was worth noting. Secondly, and the main thing I'd say is the script it just doesn't do justice to its comedy cast. I wanted more laughs. Don't get me wrong, I did laugh. I did think it was funny, but I thought that was largely because of the charisma of the 3 leads. They're really elevating this. But if you look at that cast, particularly the main 3 alongside Michael McKean, Chris Farley, Michael Richardson, Ernie Hudson, people like that, I thought it's absolutely mad that it wasn't a bit funnier. It's almost like they've wasted their talents because it's so tight. And really, I think if you get another 15 minutes in there, you might get a little bit more gags in there, a little bit more room to breathe. But I did laugh. It's not that I didn't find it funny. I just, you look at that cast and you think, this really should have been something special in terms of the comedy. Let's have a look at the critical reception then. So just to remind you that we're not sure why Ewan picked it. So we're going to look at it. Is it underrated? Is it underseen? Or is it both? If you've not listened before, we always look at the IMDb score, then the Rotten Tomatoes audience score, then the Rotten Tomatoes critic score, and then we average it out, and we'll have a little look at the box office as well to decide, is it underrated, is it underseen, or both. At the time of recording then, over on IMDb, it gets 6.2 out of 10, which I think is relatively fair. But then on Rotten Tomatoes, it gets a lot harsher because the audience give it 50%, which is quite low, but the critics give it 30%. I mean, I'm not too sure why that is. Perhaps, I don't know, maybe it's one of those comedies we've talked about before that just simply does not hit with the critics, whether it's too broad, too mainstream, too for a specific generation, too specific audience. I don't know, but that averages out at 47.3, so just over 4.5 out of 10, or 47%, however you want to look at it. For me, that's really underrated. I think this, it's not a comedy for the ages, but it's perfectly light, pacey, watchable, entertaining. So I think that's underrated. Box office wise, then it's made $5.7 million worldwide according to Box Office Mojo. So again, I know they weren't at the peak of the powers at the time, but when you consider that cast, when you consider when it was made, when you consider all the stuff around that MTV generation type thing, I think that's underrated, and it was really hard to find, so I think it's underseen as well. So I think we're going to go double whammy on that one. Underrated, underseen. So thanks, Ewan, for suggesting that one. And that's it. Airheads, underrated and underseen. Give it a watch if you like your early 90s comedies and your MTV generation stuff. I think if you like Wayne's World, you probably like this, for example. That's it then. Another one in the bag. We'll be back next week with another episode. All that remains to be said is if you'd like to get in touch with us, it's filmsandthatpod@gmail.com, on all the social medias. If you just search for Just Films and That on Facebook, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram. I've said them all now. YouTube, Letterboxd. Look, everything you need is in the link tree in the show notes. Give it a click. If you're on the platform, give us a follow. We'd really, really appreciate it. We're always putting stuff out there. But thank you for listening. Thank you for sticking with us. We'll see you next week. It's goodbye from me. Cheerio.